Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stuart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and listening. And we've got Larry on his mountaintop with his binoculars and earphones on, listening to the world. A lot going on. We are near, it's getting, let's put it this way, it's getting darker each day. We are now past twilight, and we are moving into something I don't think the world has ever seen before or ever will see again. We are moving very, very rapidly into a very, very bad time. And it's just too bad that the people of the world are sound asleep, comatose to it, but that's exactly what fulfills biblical prophecy, that the world would not understand, they will not have a clue as to what is coming upon them, and sudden destruction will simply sweep them away. And we are very close to that event happening. Hi, Larry. What's cooking down your way? You said something about the sun. I wish I had not clouds here, but you know, people have reported the sun not setting or rising, for that matter, the moon as well, in the places where it shouldn't. I wish people would email us, too, actually, at Enigma, at True Insight, and let us know when they see the sun rising or setting, or the moon likewise, in places where it really is not supposed to be. We are watching, I believe, Isaiah chapter 24 and the wobble of the earth, and it wobbles and then it comes back to where it should be, and then it wobbles again. And what's your latest take?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I shared with you this evening that the sun was clearly going down way too far to the south, and as a matter of fact, it's on the opposite side of a tree that I see it go down in front of every day. And it's usually to the right of that tree, and today it's far left of that tree. So, yeah, there's some kind of wobble. There's some kind of something. It's out of pocket.
Well, we've gotten a lot of reports, even from people who make photographs of the sun, that it's not photographing correctly. There's something wrong with it. And, you know, you can blame some of that, I suppose, on camera anomalies, lens anomalies, and lens flare, but this is different. I know people that take pictures of the sun regularly, and all of a sudden it's misshapen. So there is definitely something going on, but actually what it is, I guess, who knows? It may have some connections to this observatory, this sunspot observatory system, and I've got some more news on that, but let's get into Barry. You said has working on a new Bible code. Let's hit that one first.
Well, I thought that was really kind of interesting because he just posted one, still under construction, but he's done half of it, and it's very interesting. It's on Brett Kavanaugh, and of course, you know, we've got that big smokescreen of Kavanaugh right now in Washington, and the greatest movement of stupidity and idiocracy I've ever seen in a government operating around one man and something that happened when he was a teenager, they say. Not that they can even remember where. You know, I was a cop for years, Stuart, and, you know, somebody come in and said somebody committed a crime against me. Well, my first question, who, what, where, when? Well, this woman has no answers. None. And anyway, before I get on to my rant, I'm going to go ahead and give you the Barry Rothman Torah code. And it's under construction. It's not finished, but there's 5 so far terms. Number 1, Brett Kavanaugh. Number 2, Ford. Now, that's what's interesting, Stuart. I've watched this. A lot of times, the Torah code, when it's someone that's really righteous or doing something good or trying to work in a good direction, it has their whole name, like Brett Kavanaugh. But a lot of times when it's somebody like Comey or some of these others, it only carries their last name. But anyway, Brett Kavanaugh Ford, number 3, it has a phrase, accuser, you're ruined. Number 4, fraud, and 5, lie. So without going into the finishing of it, because he still got it under construction during the holidays, what do you think, Stuart? It sounds like the Torah code had Ford's number from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, the Lord is, he knows the end from the beginning. He knows who's lying, who isn't. I believe, I read a report where they think that the funding for her, lie detector test and all that costs a fair amount of money. It probably came from an outfit that's funded by George Soros. So here we have Soros in the background. It's clearly a fib. It's clearly, to me anyway, a delay tactic because the Democrats smell blood and they think that they're going to win the November elections and they will then be able to curtail everything. And I don't think it's going to work, though. I don't know whether Grassley is going to buy into this or whether they're just going to continue. If I was Grassley, I would simply tell this woman, you show up, we're putting you under oath, and if you don't show up, we're dropping it as though it never existed, and we're just going to continue. And if the Democrats don't like it, that's just too bad. Schumer is evil. Pelosi is evil. The rest of those, Dianne Feinstein, all they are is deep state communists, every one of them. And they're really irritated that Trump threw a monkey wrench into their whole works. But the Lord had plans for delay for a specific reason, I think. But I got a feeling those delays are rapidly coming to a close. And America could have been healed, but she's not going to be. She's just not going to be healed, and we're going in. What do you think?
Well, I was listening, and this is very interesting. Matter of fact, the headline tonight on Tucker on Fox News is Kavanaugh Chaos. And we certainly know where that's coming from, don't we? Well, what's so interesting is Lou Dobbs, just a little earlier on Fox Business, had Sarah Carter, that investigative journalist that's done so much work and found out so much about the false dossier and all of this baloney. Anyway, she has claimed that her sources are now telling her that since President Trump gave the direct order to the agencies, his agencies, to produce him all of these documents, the Russian stuff, the dossier, all of this stuff, unredacted, and he's going to release it to Congress on his authority. She's saying that the sources say that they're redacting right and left and are going to deliver next week to President Trump a redacted version of what he ordered, and this is a coup. She says this is a clear coup against the President of the United States.
Well, it's really a communist coup against the American people, but unfortunately the American people are communists themselves and don't even know it for the most part. They have accepted all of these social programs. Now all we need is a dictator to take over, and I think we all know who that is. So they have got to eliminate Trump. In fact, Governor Brown said the very same thing. He said, we have to get rid of Trump. Now that, at the very least, is sedition, and at the very most, it's treason. And yet none of these people are being indicted. Nothing is happening to any of them. Hillary Clinton's out running around doing her thing. She should be in prison or hung for treason. Not going to happen. So that is why I believe the Bible says we could have healed Babylon, America, but she will not be healed. We're going down, folks, and I think we're going down fairly quickly. It's kind of like the prophecies. I think it was Dimitri Duduman when his prophecies against America, the Lord told him who America was, which is refused by our so-called expert prophetic scholars out there, except for a few of them. They refuse that America could be Babylon, even though all the prophecies about Babylon are being fulfilled right under their nose, well, they're going to pay an awful price for it. And, that's lying to your people, folks. And then we've got these preachers, teachers, and evangelists who have these churches where Homeland Security has gone in and told them, when we come down and get all your people and put them in FEMA camps, we would sure like you to come in and comfort them. High treason against Jesus Christ, high treason against the parishioners. And they don't think they're going to pay for this? Man alive, I wouldn't want to be any of these people. They won't tell the truth. I remember when I was first coming into this thing and figuring out, and I met the Lord, and what he told me was, you just tell the truth. I'll take care of the consequences. Well, of course, the consequences are not very good, but you still tell the truth. No, we're heading in, Larry. There's no question about it. And this is just a delay tactic on the part of the Democrats, communists, and they hope that this will work. I got a feeling it might. We're going to find out pretty soon whether Trump's got moxie and can come against the deep state, or whether they really are, like Jerry Brown said, get rid of him. Get rid of him. We have to get rid of him, he said. We don't have a choice. We have to get rid of him. So there you go. I don't know. Let's move to the Middle East. There's something cooking over there that's really deadly, folks, right on time. Remember that Scotty Clark said that the Feast of Trumpets this year is actually in October, and he proves it, conclusively proves it. And that means that Israel really has not left 5778 yet. They just think they have, but they haven't. And there's a lot that can happen between now and the Feast of Trumpets in October. Anyway, Larry, Russia imposes no-fly zone for Israeli military aircraft around Syria. What in the world is that about?
Well, since apparently the Syrians shot down the Russian surveillance plane during an Israeli missile attack, of course, some are saying that it was also a U.S.-UK joint Israeli attack, near, Latakia and Tartus. It appears that Russia has now imposed a no-fly zone for all military aircraft around Syria. Also, reports say Russia indicates that any Israeli military aircraft operating outside sovereign territory of Israel risk being shot down. And at the same time, we're getting reports that under this air cover of Russia, that Iran is now flying in these S-300 missile defense systems to be set up to bring down Israeli warplanes over Syria. So they are really setting Israel up for a major attack, and also a situation where Israel is just hemmed in. I mean, this is incredible, but this is where it's going.
Well, this is either Daniel 8 enforcing, these sanctions. I'm positive these sanctions are to start war. This is what happened in World War II with Japan. We had huge sanctions against them. Well, if you sanction a nation enough, what have they got to lose by going to war? They're going to lose anyway. They're going to go down anyway. It's kind of like Israel has said, look, if we're going down, we're taking you with us. And it's a good way to start wars. So this sounds to me, with this no-fly zone, obviously is going to be against American planes as well, which puts us in direct confrontation with Russia, because I don't think we're going to back down from this. Do you?
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. And kind of what was interesting, too, is you mentioned earlier, you were talking about where we're going with this possible coup and getting rid of Trump. I was thinking as you was talking, and it was, I've just got a feeling. It's just a feeling. It ain't no big deal. It's just a feeling. But I have a feeling that once they get rid of Trump, it's not going to go the way they thought. I think country will become ungovernable, and that's the weakness that we will fall into. And I hope people's prepared, because when this starts downhill, it'll roll.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think a lot of their plans for rounding people up on the red list and all that, it's just not going to work the way they think it will. There's too many people with too many guns. They know, a lot of them know what's going on, and you're going to have a huge, hot civil war. And I believe that what it says in Jeremiah, that when the enemy sees this begin to happen, they get together and say, well, now's the time to strike. They're involved in their internal problems, and they're not really watching the enemies around them, and let's go get them. And then it begins. There's no way out of this. The Lord has decreed it. He said, I have proposed this, and I'm going to do it, and nobody is going to stop me. I don't think people realize when they're dealing with the Lord that you are dealing with the ultimate power, and he does what he wants, and you're not going to stop him. I mean, the UN could come together and say, you can't do that, and he, like Psalm 2, he just laughs at them and holds them in derision. People need to really go back and read Psalm 2, because Jesus says, or the Father says, I'm going to set my Son on the holy mountain, whether you like it or not, basically paraphrasing him. And it's just too bad for you that you don't like it. And, we got deep state. They really honestly believe they're going to make this happen. And the Lord does say, well, I'll give you the world for just a little while, but then I'm going to take it away from you, and you're not going to like it. So what can you do? Like Daniel says, the wicked will never understand. Only the wise will understand what's really happening. And it's just too bad to watch the whole world go down, but it's even worse to watch America going down when you've got relatives and grandkids and everything else that are poo-pooing all of this, thumbing their nose at it. And it's just too bad to watch and go through, but it is what it is, and you can't stop it. Before we run out of time, I wanted to talk about, you got any more on Israel? I mean, to me, this is a head-on collision. It's just a question of when it's going to happen.
Yeah, we're going to have to, I think that we're going to have to keep an eye pretty much on Israel, the Middle East especially, and I was encouraged. I got a couple of emails today from some of Dorothy's Vimeo people, and they were saying, we're listening, and we're gathering up some goodies. We're preparing. So we've reached out, and apparently some people are listening.
Well, if they don't, they're going to wish they had. And I don't know how you face your loved ones when they come to you and say, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you tell us? Well, it's one thing if you tell them and they just thumb their nose at you. It's quite another thing if you didn't tell them, didn't prepare, didn't do anything, even when you knew that you should have. So, this is going to be bedlam in the United States when it really starts to go down. I can't tell anybody when, but I am very suspicious that Scotty Clark is right, that everything is a month off. And we're going to see either this year or in 2019, we're going to see really bad things start to happen. I did some research on this solar sunspot deal. Very, very interesting, some of the things I've found in this. Aura, I guess they call it, A-U-R-A, it is said owns and operates most of the facilities that actually shut down after that sunspot observatory did. Now, you know that the sheriff is highly incensed at the FBI. They still won't tell him what's going on, which is highly unusual, don't you think, Larry? You were in law enforcement. Sheriff has the highest of all power in a county.
Well, he actually does, Stuart, and protocol generally dictates that they actually go to the sheriff of a county if it's going to affect his county and work with him to implement what they're trying to do and let him in on what's going on. But this would almost have to be, Stuart, something involving national security to withhold the secrecy that they're holding in this. So I think you're right. I think something's going on, but we just don't simply have all the details.
Well, I was listening. I went on YouTube, and of course you get all kinds of stuff on YouTube, so you never know. But one of them was very, very interesting, particularly with what the Lord has to say about those that rise up against me and who destroy the earth. And I think that's a lot deeper than we may know, and may actually have to do with CERN and Tesla technology, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the possibilities was that this is an entrance or an exit point for the underground tunnel systems in trains and cities that are underground. Now, a lot of people don't believe that that's true, but it is true. Absolutely true. They've got truckers now that have videotaped miles upon miles of underground tunnels, huge tunnels that are right underground. Okay, but anyway, then a DARPA, and interject anywhere you want, Larry. DARPA insider, now this is interesting, claims that this sunspot place is connected in a network that connects to HAARP, something called SMAC, and something called Hammer. And in a network where they're working to control the sun, solar flares, CMEs. Now, you may remember Tesla said, I can destroy the earth with my technology. And he also said he could really agitate the sun with it as well. Can you imagine the power if they learned how to control the sun or sunspots and create CMEs that they want at a power they want? And also what might happen if they make a mistake, which is alluded to by this DARPA insider. This is what he claims. Anyway, so he said, if one wanted to harness the sun and its power, that would be an immense weapon. Now, they might have been telling the truth when they talked about China hacking, because wouldn't another power like to get a hold of that kind of technology? And that makes you wonder exactly what deep black projects are in this facility underground that nobody knows about. I mean, most Americans don't know there is a tunnel system under the entire United States. May even go under the oceans. They don't realize they have atomic powered tunnel makers that literally melt the rock, then harden it and make a big tunnel. Most people are not aware that this kind of stuff actually exists, even though there are pictures of it. There are patents on it, this sort of thing. And the other question, Larry, was they found a hiker that was dead not too far from the facility. So what's going on there, do you think?
Well, it's certainly
a
mystery. There's no doubt about it. But there is one thing we do know, that there's a number of entities out there that would love to hack that type of black project.
Oh, yeah. And maybe that's what happened, or maybe they literally did have some guy go berserk in there and start shooting or whatever. But it seems very, very odd that you would have military black helicopters over there right away, and they've fenced off the facility pretty much, or at least they had. I think it's open now. And we'll probably never really know what the total truth is. It's just that the way they did it and how they operated is very, very suspicious. And we've had a bunch of articles coming out, and just found another one. Devastating solar storm is a matter of when, not if, warns Met Office as solar orbiter begins testing. I think they know something's coming, and maybe they are familiar with Major Ed Dames and the bots, Cliff High's bots of sun disease and the kill shot. What do you think?
Well, I think that's probably very accurate. Matter of fact, we know Ed Dames is saying that he's about to come out with a new video information to get alerts to the people because they're not being told the truth. And I've read a number of times, even on his own website, and what Ed Dames has said is he is working with different agencies to remote view and reveal this information. So, that said, we know the information's there. They're just not letting it out to the public.
Yeah, and then we have had the Russian bombers probing our air defenses of late. There was one, a week ago, a second one, where their bombers were kind of told to leave. But they are probing, and that's a bad sign, folks. This is going to go to war, and please remember Psalm 2. Don't forget Psalm 2. The kings and the rulers get together, and these wars are pre-planned wars. We just don't know when they're going to, how do we say, release it, push the button, and that's not up to them either. That is, they think it is, but it isn't. It's only when the Lord says, okay, this is it, go ahead, go for it. And I think we're coming up on that period of time. What do you think? I just say I get the feeling it's very, very close.
Yeah, it seems to be very close at the moment, and the problems in America, the communist coup, if you will. I know everybody has trouble saying that or even hearing it with their ears, but the communist coup that's clearly visible out here is really actually forcing America not to be healed because Donald Trump, in my opinion, was a window of time. And yes, America appears to be rejecting that window, and what's on the other side of that window will be a nightmare.
Well, they had their chance to rise up. The American people could rise up tomorrow morning, telegraph or, email or do whatever, call their senators, their congressmen, say we've had enough. This is going to stop right now. You either get to it or we're going to impeach every one of you. We're going to destroy you out. And, we have those, how do we say, visions, I guess, or whatnot, of America breaking up into sections. Why would it do that unless something really horrible happens? We don't know how they keep talking about, we got to get rid of Trump. We got to get rid of Trump. Well, how do you get rid of Trump? Good question. How do we do it? Well, they can impeach him. That's not working. They can go to Article 25. That doesn't appear to be working. Well, there's one other way they can do it, and if they did it, it would cause a national uproar. What do you think? We're close to something. They got to do something. False flag, whatever.
Yeah, I think, Stuart, that this is a very, very dangerous time for a false flag. It's almost a necessity for the communist coup to be functional, because all this evil, all of this that's out there is about to come out. And Trump said today, I noticed he said, if I never did anything else, he said, I certainly have brought to the attention of the American people a cancer in their government.
Yeah. Well, like you have said many, many times, if it's broke at the top, you can't fix it. And it's broke at the top. And Trump is virtually powerless, I believe. I don't think there's much he could do, even if he wanted to. He's tackling something that Kennedy tried to tackle, and look what happened to John Kennedy. So here we are. And I believe the Lord is going to give these people a chance. Here's what you want. This is what you dreamt. This is what you wanted. Here it is. Enjoy it for the few short years you're going to get it, and then I'm taking it away from you. Anyway, here we are. Thanks a lot, Larry, for coming on, and thanks everybody for listening. And we'll see you probably on Friday, the Lord willing, and we hope He is. Anyway, good night, folks. Take it easy.